And hello, Astro friends, on this beautiful sunny Monday afternoon, or maybe you see it in the evening or any other time, but we are having a beautiful early summer here on the West Coast. Yes, it's pretty dry too, so we have all, or lots of us, I can't speak for everybody, seem to have really mixed feelings about it all. And mixed feelings are also a theme for the upcoming new moon, end of Gemini in square with Neptune. So before we get into that, welcome to this week's astro weather, starting tomorrow on the 13th of June and going until the 19th of June, which is the last week of Gemini. There will be still June 20th left, but on June 21st we have summer solstice, Cancer season starts. So this is the end of Gemini, which also has a Gemini undertone. Double Gemini meaning there are lots of moving parts. There are lots of things swirling around in the atmosphere right now, in our thoughts, in our feelings, on all sorts of levels energetically. And how do we navigate all this, says Neptune. The sun and the moon, with the new moon especially on the 17th or 18th, are coming up to a square with that. While Neptune is also stationary. Neptune is also about to go retrograde on June the 30th. So Neptune is moving super slowly just before going into this forward to backward U-turn. I was asked on the Facebook page about is anything Neptunian going on? Feels like, yeah, definitely, for these two factors. So let me show you the chart, because the new moon is actually the main feature of the week, and everything that feeds into it also shows up in the chart. So here we go. So you see here sun and moon together, end of Gemini, very end of Gemini at 26:43 minutes, 26 degrees 43 minutes. So at the very end, while Neptune in Pisces here is also at the very end and about to go retrograde. So this is the square between them, right? So that's a lot of mutable energy, lots of moving, lots of things are up in the air, are uncertain. Uncertainty is also common denominator of Pisces and Gemini. Lots of questions, lots of doubts, lots of things that are not very clear or pretty fuzzy, lots of things to wonder about. And it can make us also kind of confused or overwhelmed mentally, emotionally, energetically. So really good to move the energy, maybe literally with song would be a beautiful combination of Gemini and Pisces, or with writing, communicating, journaling, or also through flowing via dance, via swimming, via walking, via being in the flow of things, right? So to embrace the impermanence of it all and not letting the mind getting again the better of us. So the Gemini energy, late Gemini is double Gemini. So here is really a pollination is going on, cross pollination, different otherwise polarities and divergences and differences can meet and connect if bridges are made, especially through Mercury, now also in Gemini. Since yesterday, Mercury is very happy in Gemini and will be really swift going through Gemini only within from June 11th to 26, 15 days, right? Super fast in a contrast to the super slow super slow movement in Taurus that we had since early April, right? More than 2 months. So yeah, now a lot can come through. We can learn so much more and tune in, right? Tuning in as Pisces, and when we're on the same wavelength, when there's resonance and flow, communication, and learning goes so much better. This is actually a really nice signature for the end of the school year and outflow thereof. So yeah, and yeah, keep your channels open, says Neptune in Pisces, especially the spiritual channels. Don't get overwhelmed by all the media channels, including YouTube. And be yeah, go into where things resonate. Then we have, as I just briefly mentioned, Mercury in Gemini. Yeah, not too much to say about that. Mercury will catch up with the Sun. Is that that will be happening in Cancer. So we don't have to worry about that yet. That will be on June 30th, right? Right now, Mercury is going, yeah, here through, no, so yeah, on Mercury, sorry, on June 30th, yeah. And but Gemini is currently the only air sign that's activated. Why is that so? Because what happened also yesterday is Pluto went out of Aquarius back into Capricorn, Pluto retrograde, right? So there's nothing in Aquarius right now, there's nothing in Libra right now. What about Pluto? And Pluto, being the transformer archetype, seems to have unfinished business with Capricorn, which I sometimes associate with the old empire. So the old empire and its top-down hierarchical stuff comes out with its shadow with Pluto in Capricorn, especially Pluto retro. Seems like this is another important phase. Pluto in Capricorn still until January 20th next year, when it goes for the second time into Aquarius. So we have 7 months in Capricorn now, and part of it retrograde until October 10th. So until then, especially a really important time and very supported to unravel the shadow, especially in Capricornian matters. So that can be also our personal shadow when it comes to power, control, authority, whether it is projected onto others, that we feel overpowered and controlled, or we actually own our own stuff where we need to be in control. And then why is that so? It's nothing wrong or bad about it. So Capricorn tends to have judgment, right? So judgment can be actually, in a way, would be much better to dig a little deeper and see why this issue with power and with control, especially from authorities or any form of institutional authority and hierarchy and patriarchy and such, right? We have an issue with, right? So we want to become more empowered with Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. How can we come back to our intrinsic integrity, experience, maturity, something that's really solid, right? So Capricorn is the most solid association of the zodiac. It's like a mountain or a rock, right? So something that's just in us, we know it, we've been there, nothing can disturb us there, right? So we don't have to take it out on others or on ourselves when things come up and trigger experience, because that can be, in a way, an indicator that something's up for purging, right? For bringing it to the light, getting it out of the shadow, getting it out from the underground and background, right? So it can be quite a psychological dynamic here, of course, also interpersonally with other people, if Capricorn is in your relationship area of your chart, or more publicly, Capricorn is more out there in your public arena. There's as many possibilities with this uh, as there are humans, right? And what matters is to really be conscious, recognize what's up. Why is this a Capricornian thing that comes up? Like, for example, oh my gosh, so much effort. Why do I have to take all this on? Why is it taken out on me? Why am I the scapegoat? Why am I burdened by all this, right? So it can be heaviness, can be a depressing energy with Capricorn too, right? And what would transform this? What does the energy really want to go to be more in its power, right? So another big factor for Capricorn is also ancestors, elders, history. How can we be the change and do continue the work that they couldn't, our ancestors couldn't do or couldn't complete, right? So that can be actually quite energizing and motivating and empowering. Or also we can get support from the ancestors. Feeling their presence in spirit can be wonderful, and there can be all kinds of magical with Pluto events and circumstances that show us that, right? Often synchronicities that show us, hey, this has to do with my grandpa or something, right? So getting signals, being open to that, feeling the support, feeling the love, and feeling they have our back, and we are here embodied on this planet to show up also on their behalf, and with what they couldn't do, right? So yeah, being the change, right? Being showing up at our best. It's also Capricorn, right? And bringing that to the table, bringing that out, and showing up with this, and anything that is long term, um, sustainable, also that you would still in a year or two or five would still say, yeah, this was the right thing to do. So there's some digging can be done with this Pluto in Capricorn. And what else is on this week? Saturn, the planet of Capricorn, now in Pisces, goes retrograde on the day of the new moon, 17th. So that's also big news. Saturn goes retrograde once a year, and then forward another phase in the year. Typically nowadays, May, it used to be May, now it's June till November. So Saturn will be retrograde June 17th until November the 4th. And all in Pisces, doesn't go back to Aquarius. So you can see that in the chart here. Saturn is in early Pisces. It will go back to like the first degree of Pisces, literally, right? And then forward again. And as Saturn is doing that, right away on the 19th, Jupiter in early Taurus forms a sextile with Saturn. That's a quite an auspicious, nice, so to say, aspect between the two biggest planets of the solar system. It's the first aspect they have since they aligned in 2000. Winter solstice 2000, hope you remember, was a great conjunction, it was called, between Jupiter and Saturn on the first degree of Aquarius. And that opened a new 20-year cycle between them. Every 20 years they come together. The last time before that was in May 2000. Right? And so here is the first waxing sextile. Jupiter has gone ahead of Saturn now, right? They aligned here, or interestingly, where Pluto has just been. That has meaning in itself. And now in the meantime, Saturn entered Pisces, and Jupiter is much faster, has a 12-year cycle, is ahead of Saturn, right? So the next aspect will be when Jupiter will be in Gemini. creating a square with Saturn. That's just like basically how that goes. Jupiter goes progressively further ahead of Saturn and will make all these aspects of Saturn until it comes back, catches up with Saturn. And but now it's the sextile. So Earth, Taurus Earth, and Piscean universal water. They want to actually support each other. So, and they're quite friendly with each other. Jupiter in Taurus shows us how gratitude for nature, for the earth, for our earth body, for everything that is joyful, generates more abundance, right? So we need to actually be in this joyful abundance mode that is very supported this year. And we don't need to. Jupiter says it's a gift, right? But Saturn says more like cause and effect, right? When you are in that mode, you also raise vibrations because vibrations matter, says Saturn in Pisces. And it says, okay, if you're really in a low vibe, if you're in a kind of down and out, and or even compensating the notion of Pisces, which is connection with all sorts of addictions, that itself has also consequences. Saturn's just like cause and effect, and then you don't really enjoy, you just overdo something or do it for the wrong reason or wrong context or something, right? So being in joy, in joyful abundance, and also being in a healthy and open and receptive vibration. So here's an invitation from Saturn and Jupiter in that regard. What else is going on this coming week? Yeah, the moon is currently waning. It's in Aries today. Will go into Taurus tomorrow, mid-morning. Tomorrow the 13th, mid-morning, or close to noon, 11:31 a.m. And what's interesting regarding the moon at this phase before the new moon is that the void of course phases, I believe I mentioned that in a previous video, void of course phases are super, super quick and short, right? Because void of course means what? Void of course is the phase between the moon making its last aspect to a planet before it changes signs, right? So it's the last connection between a planet, and then there's a window between that and changing signs. And why is that so short these days? Because Pluto is at the very end of Capricorn, which is like 29 something, right? So when the moon makes this contact with Pluto, tomorrow it will be from Aries, a square to Pluto. There's not much time between then and already entering Taurus. So that also means lots of shifts from one energy emotionally to another come relatively fast. So there's not much limbo window in between, for better or worse. Sometimes the limbo window, I call it now, can be also weird and fuzzy, but it can be also a good time to relax in that into that transition, right? So we don't have that so much. So the moon is this week, right? This week and next. So as long as as Pluto is still at the very end of Capricorn, we have this. So I would say also throughout July it should be still an issue too. I haven't looked specifically, but I'm just estimating here. And so what are the lunar energies this week? Moon, as I said, in Aries since yesterday, could have felt kind of energizing, all fresh and new. Maybe also literally here on the West Coast after the rain, here's new life is coming out. Everything is sunny again, the light is back. But also it could have been with also the Pluto shift and such, right? Some triggers, right? And some alerts, right? Where you might have felt like, oh, kind of agitated. It can happen with the Aries moon too. alertness slash agitation or triggers, right? So air is very fast, fast to respond, fast to react. And the moon goes into Taurus, where the moon is really happy because there's a grounded, a nourishing, and a nurturing energy in combination is really, and things are slowing down, more earthy, turning into um, food and into connection with the earth and gardening and such things are really beautiful expressions of the moon in Taurus. And so really enjoying life with all our senses. Then the moon goes into Gemini on the Thursday the 15th in the evening, 6:46 p.m. Um, also after super short void phase, so that Gemini entry already prepares for the Gemini new moon. And so when the moon enters Gemini, will be also a dark moon. It's basically really signifying the end of a cycle before the new one starts with the new moon. And you could also do all sorts of release uh, ritual ceremonies, especially in the Thursday evening, maybe Friday, especially, even Saturday. And on Saturday, as I said, there's the new moon, which will be at 9:37 p.m. Pacific. So for most of the world, actually on June the 18th. So for you, Saturday might be still even the dark moon phase. You have to just do your math with the Pacific time I just gave you at 9:37 p.m. And so this could be the dark moon phase. There can be still lots of old stuff to be released, but also transitioning into the new moon phase. And this new moon comes so close to summer solstice. What's going on this cusp? The Gemini Cancer cusp, I call that nesting point. It's a summer solstice point. It's also an energy where air goes into water, or all the flying, all our flighty thoughts and all the buzzing around wants to, in the mind especially, right, wants to arrive, wants to come home into our feeling body, and that is Cancer, right? So we're nesting, finding our emotional place of belonging, right? Rather than all the potentialities we consider with Gemini, there's so much up in the air. Where do you feel at home? What's with your connection, your connection of belonging with your tribe, with your family, with anybody who feels you have a bond with, right? That's Gemini. So it's a beautiful time to come together. And so that new moon actually already sets the tone for that, to bring all the thoughts, to bring all our ideas, maybe also stories, right, back to the family, back to those whom you love and have resonance and connection with. Um, that's it for this week's astro weather. More to come next week. I just want to say, the moon before um, we this video week ends, goes into Cancer already, right? That will be on Sunday. On Sunday, Father's Day celebrated is when the moon goes in the morning into Cancer from Gemini. So the new moon will be a young moon going into Cancer, Sunday and Monday in Cancer, and Tuesday until the afternoon. So Cancer is also where the moon is the most at home. And so we have the Taurus moon coming up tomorrow, and then also the Cancer moon. So all of that can bring soothing and comforting energy into our emotional and mental field, which is so needed, especially with all this Gemini New Moon in square with Neptune. I'm kind of wondering what's swirling around, but don't take things necessarily at face value. This is a very mutable, very changeable energy. Don't necessarily go by the information or the vibe you pick up, and allow things to roll out and settle, right? So hope you're having a beautiful week and enjoying all your flights of spring, and having beautiful connections with nature, with those whom you love, and with anything and anybody random, which is Pisces again, right? Stay well and enjoy the week. And you can see me again here on the video next week. And I might see you also in real life. Down below in the notes of the video are links to the Astro Facebook page, also to my blog with the articles for Pluto now in Capricorn, for Mercury in Gemini, and more articles to come for the new moon, Saturn retro, summer solstice, all these things. So you're most welcome to subscribe or to like and whatever you need to do on all these channels. And also, you're welcome to join the Astro News email newsletter. Down below is also a link to my email address where you can basically just send me an email and I subscribe you. And you're not locked in one way or another. You can always unsubscribe if that feels better to you. And if these videos, if these astro weather videos have value for you, I welcome you to send some donation into the donation hat. Again, the email address is below. Wish you well. Have a beautiful week. Until next one. Bye.